Hello. Okay, so I have a mask on. I'm filming another video, so I thought as I was waiting for this mask to do what it needs to do so I could finish that video, that I would film another video that I didn't necessarily need to like put makeup on or look fancy for. I wanted to do my reading wrap up for 2023. So I did a mid-year sort of like reading check-in. I think it was around mid-year because it was around June because I'd read 100 books at that point of the year. So I wanted to talk about that. And I wanted to do sort of like a second video where I sort of like closed out, you know, gave you all my closing stats for the year, talked about like my favorite books from the year, sort of what my reading goal for this year is, and then talk to you about something that's like really cool that my sister got me for Christmas. So last year I really got into reading again after not really being into reading, I think in like the last 10 years. So I used to be really into reading. I'm not sure how much of this I talked about in that video. I haven't rewatched it to like sort of see. So if you watch that and I'm repeating myself, I am sorry. But yeah, so I really got back into reading last year after I hadn't really been reading for the past, let's see, I'm going to my Goodreads. So the last time I read a decent number of books, was 2013, where I read 24 of my 46 reading goal. I read 42 books in 2011. I had read 46 books in 2012. 2013, I read 24. 2014, I read 10. 2015, I read 7, and then I really fell off the map after that. I tried to get back into reading last year, and I had set, not last year, the 2021, the year before, I had set a goal of 12 books, so like one book a month. I thought that was like a realistic goal, and I did get through that in 2021. But then in 2022, I bought myself a Kindle in February, and I started reading again. I refound my love for reading. I have a whole new genre of books that I love that I never loved before. I used to always make fun of my sister for reading that genre, the romance, sort of like contemporary romance, not like, you know, like 80s romance, but it's like contemporary romance, smut, you know, the dirty stuff. I'm really into that. But yeah, I found my love. I refound my love of reading. I've read a couple of other things sort of like in between. It hasn't all been smut, but most of it, like 98% has been. But yeah, so I really rediscovered my love for reading last year, bought myself a Kindle. I spent a lot of time reading. I was hoping to get through a lot more books that I actually ended up finishing. But then in the second half of the year, my life sort of like changed completely, and reading wasn't like as big of a priority as it was the first half of the year, when I had read my 100 books, you know, by June. But I still did manage to read a decent amount of books in the second half of the year. It just wasn't as many as like I originally was hoping. I kind of was hoping to hit a goal of like 200, but I ended up at 156, which isn't bad. That's the most books I've ever read in one year, like in my whole entire life, 156. So I wanted to talk about what other books I read after that, that video I did in June. I wanted to talk about the rest of the books that I read through the year, what my favorites were. Let's sort of see. Because I think I finished up, I had just read 1,000 Boy Kisses when I did that book, or when I did that video. Or either I can't remember if I had just read it or, it doesn't matter. 1,000 Boy Kisses was one of the last books that I read when I filmed that video. And then I read a bunch of Melanie Harlow. She's one of my favorite authors. I've really liked all of the stuff that she, you know, has written. I read Man Candy, After We Fall, If You Were Mine, and then From This Moment, which is, it's all like a series, but it's like different. It's different guys. I think it had something to do with, oh no, it didn't. I don't remember. It was different guys. It wasn't like the same story. It wasn't following the same story. It was all, but it's all like in the same world, I think. It's been a while. I don't really remember. I thought about getting into Taylor Jenkins Reid, so I read Evidence of the Affair, but then I picked up a bunch of her books, and I really am excited to read them eventually. I never got into them. Then I read the Ellie Thorpe St. View Prison series, Locked Up Liars, Solitary Sinners, and Fatal Felons, and that one does follow like the same set of characters, and that one is it's a group. And they all share one woman, and some of them share men. They share each other. That one was fun. I liked that one. And then I read the Lucy Score Riley Thorne series. So Riley Thorne and The Dead Guy Next Door, Riley Thorne and The Corpse in the Closet, and then Riley Thorne and The Blast from the Past, which I enjoyed that series. I wanted it to be spicier because the Lucy Score books I've read up until this point, I read By a Thread. I read the other one. I don't know. It was a blue cover. I talked about it in that last video, which now I don't remember what it was. I'm going to go find it though, because now I need to know what it was. Oh, well, I read Forever Never. I also read that one from Lucy Score. And then I also read, I'm going to find it. Things We Never Got Over, which is actually, there's a sequel coming out this year, which I'm really excited about. So I'm excited to read that one. So yes, I read that. It wasn't nearly as spicy as I was hoping it would be. There was a little bit, but it was more story based, it was fine. It's a fun story. I read all 3 of them, but I wanted it to be spicier. Then I read the Tilly Cole Hades Hangman series. I read all of them. I think there are 8 books. It Ain't Me, Babe, Heart Recaptured, Souls Unfractured, Deep Redemption, Damnable Grace, I Do, Babe, Crux Untamed, Darkness Embraced, and then My Maddie. I loved that series. I just flew through it. I think I read the entire series in like 2 weeks. I loved it. It's very dark. It's like a dark romance. It's about like this motorcycle gang. Obviously there's like lots of killing, and there's also lots of spicy times. I love that series. That was a really good series. I really enjoyed that one. Then I read The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins, but I can't remember what that one was about. So it wasn't super memorable. What did I rate it? I rated it a 4. I don't really remember it. Oh, now I remember it. So yeah, it's like this, they were friends and one summer changed everything, but then they had a breaking up, or like a leaving of ways. And then 18 years later, they sort of like got back together in this house. Anyway, it was okay. I mean, I rated it a 4, so I must have liked it, but like I don't remember it enough to like, read it again. Then I was really into like the, what is the word for it? Oh, reverse harem. I was really into reverse harem for a moment. So I read this Room series where it's a bunch of books with like the same premise written by a bunch of different authors. Is Room 6, Room 8, Room 14, Room 10, Room 20, Room 22, Room 28, Room 24, Room 30. And it's all reverse harem. So it's like one girl, 3+ guys. I think it's 3 guys for all of them, actually. I think they had like what they were supposed to do. I mean, those were steamy. I enjoyed that. And that's sort of where my reading fell off. Like I still read a bunch throughout July. I think I ended up reading 30 some books in July. And then that's when I sort of, not in July, up in June, because I think I filmed that other one early June. I don't know. But then like July is when my reading sort of fell off, and I started reading like a little bit less. I read A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime of Monica Murphy. I wasn't great. I did read The Long Walk by Richard Bachman, which is a Stephen King book. I read that one because I was trying to get back into Stephen King, but I think that was where I ended up. I read The Wedding Game by Megan Quinn. I love Megan Quinn. I talked about how much I love Megan Quinn in that last video. I still love her. I read The Salacious Players Club by Sarah Kate, which was very nice and steamy. There's Praise, Eyes on Me, Give Me More, and then Mercy. I read all 4. Really enjoyed those. I did read the Tate James The Guild series. I talked about how much I like Tate James. Tate James is what got me into It's the first thing I read in romance, so I sort of like jumped right into reverse harem, dark romance, like the smut stuff. I jumped right into it. I didn't even know what I was getting into, but like once I got into it, I was like sold. This is what I like. This is my forever genre. So she wrote the Kate series, that was the first series that I read. Then I read the Hades series, which was it's in the same world, but it's like a different set of characters. I read both of those in February. And then I knew she was working on a third series, but I wanted to wait until it was finished so I could read the whole thing at once. So there's Honey Trap, Dead Drop, and Kill Order. I didn't like them as much. I didn't like the characters as much. I didn't like the story as much, but I did still enjoy it. I had a good time. It's like Tate James fashion. It's very nice and steamy. It was good. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't. I would reread the Kate series, and I would reread the Hades series, but I wouldn't reread this series. Oh my God. I did read Pen Pal by JT Gessinger, and I did talk about her in my last video where she wrote Perfect Strangers, and it was like there were so many different like twists and turns in that twists. There was like a lot of twists going on in that book, and I was like, I didn't know how it was going to end, and like the way that it ended, like I totally didn't expect it. I loved that book. I hadn't read anything else from her until I read Pen Pal. And she just is sort of that kind of writer where she writes like a lot of like twists, like you really don't know what's going to happen next. And then like when I got to the part of this book where it sort of like explained what was going on, I was like, holy crap, I didn't see that coming. But I loved it. Again, it was super steamy. I loved the storytelling. I loved the characters. I really want to read a lot more from her, but then this was sort of like towards the end of the year where I was not reading as much because I only read 2 more books after that. So JT Gessinger, I do really want to read a lot more of her in this year. I loved Pen Pal. I told my sister to read it, and then she got totally into her and like read like 10, 15 books after that. Like she has a lot more time than I do, but yeah, that was, I really love her. Then I saw a TikTok for a book, If He Had Been With Me, so I went to go read it. That was good. It's more of like, I feel like it's more like young adult than it is like the kind of romance that I'm really into, because it's not, it was romance and it was like a good story, but it wasn't what I typically read. It wasn't, dirty and smutty and and then I read Lotus by Jennifer Hartman, which had been sitting in my to read pile for like a long time, and that was okay. I think, what did I rate that one? Okay, I liked it a lot. Apparently I rated it 5 stars. If He Had Been With Me, I rated it 4 stars. I guess there's a sequel to If He Had Been With Me is coming out. So that's what I finished on. I finished off with Lotus. I read, my original goal I had set for myself was 13. I wasn't expecting to read as much as I did. I just kind of set it at the beginning of the year, and I was like, I'm going to read, 1 book a month again, and I'm going to try to at least match my goal from last year. And then I bought myself a Kindle, and I was totally done. I was like, I love reading again. So yeah, I read 156. This year I did set a much lower goal because I know my time is going to be a lot more limited this year than it was last year. I set a goal of 52 books, so basically like 1 book a week. Right now I've read 2 books. I am reading a third, and I guess according to my app, I'm 1 book behind schedule, so I need to get going on that. So what I've read so far, I can actually grab it. This is starting to like peel and look pretty gross, so I'm gonna have to go wash this off soon. But I've read Hooked by Emily McIntyre. She does a retelling, at least this series that we're going through, these Never After novels. I don't know what, she's got 3 of them so far. There's a 4th one coming out. She does like retellings of like, I don't know if they were like originally Disney stories or if like Disney took them. No, Peter Pan wasn't Disney originally, was it? I don't know. It's like classic kid stories and then turns them into adult, dark romance, whatever. So Hooked is a retelling of like Peter Pan. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't like my favorite sort of, I don't do a lot of these like retellings. for that reason, just because like you never really know. You never really know how you're gonna feel about them. And I don't do a lot of retellings. I sort of like to just do like original stories and things like that. But I had been looking at this series forever, and I finally picked it up at the bookstore, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and then I just started reading them. There's Hooked, there's Wrecked, I think. I don't know. I have the other two sitting over there because they're on my, I want to read them this month, which I need to get going because it's the 22nd. But yeah, I feel like it was rushed a little. If it had been like a series, I don't know, maybe I would have felt differently about it, but it's like she crammed in a lot in like 320 something pages, and I just felt like it could have been a little bit longer. Like if it had been like 400 pages, I feel like the story could have been fleshed out a little bit more. I feel like the beginning was good, and then sort of like the end, it got rushed, and I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess it's over then. So, I mean, it was okay. I'm gonna read the rest of the books in the series. I'm pretty sure I've read that the other ones are better, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I read that one. The other one that I've read so far is Alone with You in the Ether, which has been sitting on my to-read pile for a long time. I did buy the Kindle version of it last year sometime and then just never read it. But I read that one, and that one I really enjoyed. It was a lot different. It was very sort of like inner monologue a lot. It's very like philosophical, not exactly what I usually read. It's not like smutty, sort of like dirty romance. It's sort of like, it's just very different. It's very just like thoughtful. I mean, there's obviously some romance aspect to it because it is about like a couple that falls in love. But it's like, it's very different from what I usually read. And I did really enjoy it. And I got through it, I think in like a week. How long did it take me to read it? So I'm going to show you this here in a minute. So let's see. I read it. Yeah, it took me a little bit. I mean, if you put all the days that I read together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It took me 8 days to read it, but I read it over like 2 weeks. So that's what I read. That's what I've read so far. What I'm currently reading is called When in Rome, I think. What is it called? Yeah, When in Rome by Sarah Adams. On the Kindle app, they do these Kindle challenges, you know, every season. And they have like different quests or like achievements. One of them is to unlock this achievement when you complete one of the Amazon editor's best picks for best books of 2022. So I looked through the qualifying books, and there wasn't like a ton on there that I really was interested in reading. But there was this one, When in Rome, by Sarah Adams. So it had like pies on the front. So I love food. I love cooking and baking. So, I mean, that intrigued me. And then I also knew it was sort of like a romance, but so far it's not typically what I read. I'm like 111 pages in and they've kissed. That's all they've done so far. And I'm like, can we get to the good stuff? But yeah, so I'm reading that right now currently. And then I'm just trying to sort of like figuring out what else I'm going to read, you know, throughout the year. So I talked about my goal. So I want to read at least 52 books this year, at least one book a week. So we'll sort of see how I do with that. I'm hoping to at least get through that many. I mean, if I get through more, like great. But we'll see. It just all depends on like how much time I have. So I did want to talk about this too. So my sister and I talk a lot about books. I don't know if she's like one of the big reasons why I got back into reading, but I was like on TikTok and the book talk, and then we sort of just like, you know, got into it together. She's always sort of read. She's never really fallen off the way that I did. But like last year, that sort of like helped us get closer is, you know, sharing our love of like reading and stuff. So for Christmas, she bought me this Always Fully Booked, sort of like book planner. And I love this thing. So it's a book lover's planner. And I love this because it gives you, let's just go through it. So this isn't available anymore. This is from a shop from Canada called Little Inklings. She only does the sales of this specific planner once a year, and it's like towards the end of the year, and then when she sells out, she doesn't make any more. She's got other planners and like book journals and things you can buy if you are interested in her shop and like these things, but she doesn't have any more of these like planners, like the calendar planners, but she's got other journals and such. So I haven't fully like sort of fleshed out how I want this journal to look, and I really want to work on like my handwriting this year, because like I watch a lot of like journal planning book talks and like Instagram accounts now, and I feel like my handwriting sucks. I really want to work on my handwriting. That's one of the things I want to do this year. But yeah, so this one has like important info, like my star rating system. 1 star is awful, poorly written, and all around bad. 2, made it through but didn't really enjoy it. 3, decent, not terrible, but not great. 4, loved it. 5, made me feel all the feels. That's basically what it takes. You know, that's my rating system. So I wrote it down. There's things on here that I haven't done yet, like most anticipated books, legend. There's some 2023 goals, which I haven't really worked on yet. There's a reading checklist, which I've already added the 2 that I've read this year so far. And then it's got like a few pages of reading checklists. There's like a color your own bookshelf. So like probably like once a month I'll go through and color the books that I've read on my bookshelf. There's a book series tracker where I've written down like book series that I'm interested in or book series that I've already started. And then it's just like keeping track of the number of books. And then here's just like a bunch of pages for like quotes. So like if I ever come across a quote in a book that I like really like, I can write it down if I want. Here's a wish list. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with some of these pages, because usually if I have like a wish list of books, I just buy it. Here's a movie tracker, which I don't really track my movies or like my TV watching, so I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with those. 5-star reads, so anything that I rate for a 5-star through the year, you know, put it in here. And then this is another page where you can sort of like create your own something of 2023. I'm thinking that I'll probably do like best book of the month that I read, you know, for 2023, because there's like 12 spots. So it's something 1 per month or whatever. Or it could be best books of 2023. It could be 5-star reads of 2023, whatever you want it to be. I'm thinking I want mine to be like which book I liked which book I liked the best that month. Then there's the A to Z challenge, where you read a book starting with each letter of the alphabet. I've already got 2. I've got Alone with You in the Ether and then Hooked. I'll also have When in Rome when I finish that book. Here's some more like reading challenges. So it just gives you like a bunch of ideas for like reading challenges, like an Own Voices novel, a book with a gemstone in the title, a book with food in the title, so stuff like that. On the cover reading challenges, so read books with covers featuring the following: a house, clouds, a person facing away. Just fun little reading challenges. So I definitely do want to do these like throughout the year. Reading rainbow, so read books with covers of every color of the rainbow. So there's that as well. Read a book from each of these genres. I would struggle with that one because I don't really read many other genres at the moment. Read through the ages challenge, which could be fun to find, you know, like romance books set in like different time periods. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. Here's an around the world reading challenge. So whether you use a book setting where an author is from or a mix of both, complete the challenge by reading at least 1 book from each location. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with that one yet. Here's my reading goal tracker, which right now I have 52, and then I have little stickers that I can like put in here of if I read a paperback book or a Kindle. I don't do any other formats. I don't do audiobooks or anything like that. So this one goes to 126. So if I read more than 126, I can't put it on here. Then there's a battle of the books if I want to do that. So it's sort of like picking the best book. This page I turned into a page tracker, so like how many pages I read on certain days. So I have that color coded based on how many pages I read, and then X is obviously I didn't read on that specific day. Genres read in 2023. Right now I only have romance because that's all that I ever read. Book format breakdown, which obviously this gets filled out at like the end of the year, but print and Kindle because that's all I read. And then star rating breakdown. I just need to fill in my little stars. I need to get a yellow highlighter. Pages read in 2023 tracker. I'm excited about all this stuff. And then there's a couple of like blank bullet pages that I could do whatever I wanted to with. I haven't really figured out what I want to do yet. And then we have each month. So I'm going to go over 1 month because they're all the same. So it starts with the starts with the monthly calendar, which I haven't really filled out because my life, you know, I don't really do that much. I have a books to read for this month. This is what I want to read. Is that what I will actually end up reading? I don't know yet. And then some new releases coming out in January that I was excited about. I wrote down there. What else do we got? Then we started with our, so I've got what I do here. I started on the first with what I'm currently reading, like what I was reading at the end of last year and I hadn't finished yet, which was Hooked, which we already talked about, and then We Are All the Same in the Dark, which I haven't picked up again. And then it has like a page tally, so you can see how many pages you read in that specific day. So you can see some of what I've got here. I'm not a cute journaler, but I want to work on that this year. And then I did get myself like a little bookmark, you know, to keep the page. Okay, so then that goes through the end of the month, obviously. So then there's a bookish haul page where you can write down, you know, some books that you've bought, or all the books that you've bought in that month. I did buy When in Rome. It was a Kindle version because it wasn't on Kindle Unlimited. Sadly, I had to buy one. And then I bought Icebreaker by Hannah Grace and A Long Time Coming by Megan Quinn. I bought those both in paperback. Then there's like a reading wrap up, which obviously I'll finish this one at the end of January. So I have books read in Jan, so I'll put like a list of what books I actually ended up finishing. Then there's some reading stats: number of books read, best book, pages read, hours listened, which will be 0, number of do not finish, formats, genres read, and then there's, you know, some blank pages. I'm out of breath. And then it goes, you know, through the months. So let's get through December. And then in the back of the book, it's got a place for book reviews. So there's a bunch of blank pages where you can do strictly book reviews. And then I think there's some like blank pages at the end of it. Yeah, there is. So I haven't decided if I want to do these yet because I don't really write a lot of book reviews. I just sort of like, I rate them on Goodreads and then I move on. So I'm not really sure if I want to do this yet, but like it gives you a place to do your book review. Title, author, started, finished, length, from my collection, or from, you know, if it was my collection, library, other, publication date, genre, you know, do like an actual book review. So anyway, my sister bought me that. I'm really excited to use it. I bought myself a bunch of stickers to go with my planner. I've bought some highlighters and like pens and things like that, and I'm trying to work on, you know, like my handwriting. It's one of the things I want to do this year. I want that to be one of my goals for this year, is like work on my handwriting so I can do like cute journaling. Like I'm not going to be like a journal TikToker or whatever, but I want to do like cute journaling because I want to do this every year now. Anyway, so that's my reading wrap up. If you hung out with me for the last half an hour, I hope that you had a good time. Let me know if you enjoy reading, you know, what your book goals for the next year are. Do you do any kind of book journaling? Do you have a book journal? Check out Little Inklings for sure. They do, she's got some other stuff, like I said. She doesn't have this always fully booked planner anymore, but she does have other sort of like book review journals. She does have other sort of like reading journals and things like that that just don't have like the calendar aspect to it. But yeah, I really enjoy mine. Definitely check her shop out. And I'm gonna go because my throat is extremely dry, and then I need to finish this video because this is peeling off and weird. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm excited to read, you know? I'm excited to read this year and see how many books I can finish this year. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.